If you don't know that already. And sometimes it's good to actually declare a PowerPoint-free zone. Yeah, see, thank you for that smattering. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up Jimmy Small. Jimmy is with the Iowa Speedway, and got to meet Jimmy just today for the first time. Some interesting things, originally from Detroit. And you haven't been here that long, have you? How long you been here? 13 months. So I said, what's the biggest surprise so far about living in Des Moines? And, you can make your best guesses. And I wondered what he was going to say. And he said, I'm surprised that so much is going on here. So we're destroyed some of your stereotypes, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, and we've done the same with NASCAR executives, IndyCar executives that have come out to spend time with us. We get them to stay downtown in Des Moines, and they're blown away by the music, the entertainment, and things like that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent, excellent. So then I said, well, what do you study to become a NASCAR kind of guru, leader, general manager? And he said, economics, the dismal science. And he said, exactly. And he studied at Notre Dame, and yeah, all kinds of good things. So you want to launch into this a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
I think Sarah's actually, we're going to try and experiment. We're going to try and upload the presentation to the website and then tweet the link, and then maybe I could go through the presentation on the screen while you all follow from your computers or your phones. That actually might be fun to try. So we'll dive into that if and when we get that uploaded. But yeah, thanks for improvising with me.
Yeah, great. Well, we're just going to sit down and have a conversation in front of you. And so imagine that your PowerPoint was working. What was going to be your opening point?
My opening point was really to focus on engagement, which is what I was asked to do. And it was a good topic to cover today because just to give you a little bit of background on me, on Iowa Speedway and what's happened over about the last 18 months, NASCAR had the opportunity September of 2013 to purchase Iowa Speedway. I was working in business development and marketing out of our Charlotte offices in North Carolina, and got a call from our chairman, Brian France, out of the blue. Was shaking in my boots because I missed the call and thought maybe I don't know, I thought I did something wrong. We play a lot of jokes on each other internally.
It makes sense to think you did something wrong,
Yeah,
right?
it did. Yeah. And so I called him back and he said, hey, we're looking at this opportunity. We want you to go work on a team that'll acquire Iowa Speedway, and then we want you to stay out there and run the Speedway. So I'm 27 years old at the time and going, I've never run a Speedway. I manage one person at NASCAR and had just started that months earlier. And so I was just in a whirlwind. I didn't sleep the next couple of days, and here I am, about 18 months later. But anyways, back to what NASCAR was looking to do with Iowa Speedway, why it acquired it, why I think they sent myself and a gentleman named Trent Staley, who's back there in the back of the room, is our vice president of marketing, why we were sent out here to work at Iowa Speedway, and that is really fan engagement. NASCAR launched about 2 or 3 years ago a program. It's called our Industry Action Plan, and our Industry Action Plan is meant to drive fan engagement across our sport, drive progress across our sport, drive fan growth, and ultimately revenue growth across the sport for tracks, teams, drivers, et cetera. So this Industry Action Plan had about 55, 60 initiatives. Trent and myself both led a number of them for a number of years, and we hit roadblocks at a number of racetracks in a number of markets throughout that experience that really limited our ability to implement some of these initiatives. So when we were presented with the opportunity to come out to Iowa Speedway, purchase it, and run it, we thought this was a great idea. This is a great market for us. We have more NASCAR fans here in the Midwest than any other part of the country, so a good place to be. There's a lot of passion here. There's a lot of enthusiasm. It's a great opportunity for growth. We all know Des Moines, Central Iowa is growing tremendously, or rapidly, but looked at that as a great opportunity to try out a lot of these new things. So NASCAR sent us out here, and we've spent the last 18 months really trying to come up with new ideas, working with NASCAR, working with IndyCar on ways to get the drivers more involved, get the fans, more involved with the drivers, with us as a staff, more, just becoming a bigger part or a better part of Central Iowa, and really embedding ourselves into the culture here. We're established in 2006,
right.
so we're under 10 years old. So becoming more a part of the culture, and hopefully, is that a good sign?
Could be. It's too early to tell, actually, but it could be. So when you think about it, seems like a massive undertaking to really rethink fan engagement, designing experience. Where do you start, and who do you gather around you to begin this process of these various initiatives and action steps that you're taking? Where do you even begin?
We were lucky enough to have worked on it for a couple of years already with other racetracks. We'd gotten feedback, but from the racetracks themselves. But NASCAR has a fan council of about 16 to 20,000. It fluctuates. It's called our fan council. They get feedback weekly from our race fans across the country. These are avid race fans.
What's the platform for the feedback?
It's a forum of sorts, where fans are, we send them out questions every week, and then they discuss. Are
there any council members here right now, fan council members here? None? Oh, man, we've got to get some of these marketers in.
Yeah, so fan feedback's really where it starts, getting a feel from our fans of, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we can do better, starting there, and then looking elsewhere, looking at what other sports properties, other entertainment venues are doing well, and then bringing that all together and really just launching a platform that can involve all of that, drive progress, lead to innovation, and ultimately growth.
So you look outside your immediate NASCAR world to other sports.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what can we bring in? What's an example of an initiative, maybe a story that you can tell us about how you've picked one, you've worked it, here's what we've learned in doing it? Am I putting you on the spot?
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, make up something.
It's, I think, good or representative, or what am I talking about? I've got mush mouth right now. Good example of areas we've really driven entertainment value is our pre-race activities. So, you look at what is done in the NBA or the NFL with player introductions.
Right.
You look in motorsports with things like Monster Jam or things like Supercross. Sure. There's high entertainment value that helps build the anticipation for the event itself, and that may be 5 minutes long and maybe 30 minutes long. But we've looked outside of our sport because, and this was a point I wanted to make, is we're all sports fans at Iowa Speedway. We're all race fans, but we're all sports fans in general. So we go to every other sporting event. We're fans just the same as everyone else. So establishing that common bond with the fans themselves and using that perspective as we build programs, as we build initiatives is really important, we think. And also making sure everyone understands that too, because that if they know we're sports fans and that's what we're ultimately, we're working every day towards building an experience that if we were sitting in the seats, we would be blown away by. So getting back to driver introductions, we brought in a professional marketing agency, entertainment agency to come out there, build a stage. We progressed each weekend last year, trying out new things. I think the coolest thing we did was we brought out a DJ from Los Angeles, brought him in, and he created a mashup that took, quotes from Talladega Nights and some other, racing quotes that are fun that everyone's, well aware of or has heard before, and then mixed them in with songs. And so each song that we played for each driver made sense for their personality. So each driver came out, they were energized. They really had no idea that they were coming out to a song. So it was a
surprise to them as well.
It was. And so we had one driver, his name's Ty Dillon. He came out and he basically jumped the stairwell. I couldn't believe it. And he just said he was so jazzed up. He was thanking us for doing something like that for him. But, he almost hurt himself pretty badly. And so that's...
injured during introductions is driver number 35.
Risks of pushing the boundaries too far, right? So.
Well, I like that. That you're creating an experience for everybody. How many employees are you working with at the Speedway now?
We have 17 full-time employees.
Okay.
On an event weekend, we grow our balloon to around 400.
Are some of them volunteers? Some of them are just event staff?
Some of them are charitable groups. Some of them are high school groups, high school cheer teams. Is it up? All right.
It's up. Cool.
Does everyone want to try this? Probably better than
I'm enjoying talking to you.
Stumbling throughout. But anyways, back to, so 300, 400 people. We have folks up there from Newton, Iowa that volunteer their time.
Right.
We have, high school cheer groups that come out and get a donation. It's just like a car wash you would see on the side of the road, except they help us park cars or help us hand things out. Guest services is a big piece of our operation. So, yeah, we get people from outside of the state as well. We get firefighters and EMTs coming from across the Midwest.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, you wonder about, every one of us probably has employee workforces or groups that we work with. How do you get everybody aimed in the same direction? How do you get everybody committed to delivering the experience, or they're part of the experience? Especially when you have volunteer staff, you have people that don't work with you all the time, but you have 17 full-time people that are, bought in, sold out, and can communicate it. It's, how do you get that group of people aimed in the same direction to deliver the brand?
That's a really good question, and we launched or implemented a system that we're now improving, but we launched this last year. It's a guest services guidebook. That is a guidebook that both digitally and in print can be distributed throughout our immediate network of 17 folks, making sure that we're all on the same page as far as questions and answers. So if a storm comes in, how are we answering questions related to weather and the future of the event? If anything happens, we have answers to all those questions. We have maps to point people in the right direction. It's all about the customer experience at Iowa Speedway. And so taking that, we distribute that throughout the network. So we have managers and supervisors at each level, whether they work in parking, they work in the infield, they work in racing operations. They have access to this book so they can answer questions and really become advocates for us, representatives, ambassadors for our brand and our messaging to make sure it stays consistent.
Well, and it's one of those things that you wonder, you can do all this work, and in a heartbeat, one individual who doesn't know what the experience is meant to be can undo, for at least a small group of people, what
Certainly.
you're trying to accomplish. So it's fragile, and you've got to work hard at getting everybody aimed in the same direction.
It certainly is.
So what's going to happen here? Are we going to... Huh? Magic? Is it coming up? Huh? But you got the slides on this.
Is it up? So
Yeah.
could we switch the TV so I can see the
Yeah,
slides?
just want to go. And then, hey, this has been good getting to talk to you, and I hope
thank
that
you
we
very
can talk
much.
some more. These people listened in, but that's
I know,
no
right?
big deal. Yeah, I love that. I love the fan guide, too. That's awesome. So you got the clicker? You need a clicker?
I do.
All right, clicker in hand. Make it happen, Jimmy.
Let's move these so I don't trip
Okay.
and fall.
Not like driver introductions. No jumping on and over things. Okay, I'll get this off the stage for you.
All right. All right, so slide one. Hope everyone's got these synced up. I guess I should probably yell it out as I change slides. It's just really an overview of what we're looking to talk about today, accomplish, and discuss. And then hopefully, we might be running low on time, but would love to open it up for questions and answers if anyone has additional questions. Slide one or slide two is who are we? So what is Iowa Speedway? I think I gave a pretty good overview of the background behind Iowa Speedway's purchase by NASCAR, what our goals were. So fan engagement being one of them, fan growth through engagement being another, but really pushing the boundaries on the entertainment across our sport. We want to try new things out. We want to experiment with new platforms, new programs, new initiatives, really incubate them at Iowa Speedway, try them out, see what our fans think, tweak them, and then ultimately distribute them or lead to the implementation of these initiatives across the entire sport. raising the profile of motorsports, not just within NASCAR, but IndyCar as well, and any other form of motorsports. We want, you know, the boats rising with the high tide. We're the fastest short track on the planet. I'll get into that a little bit later. That's part of our rebrand going into last year. It was something that had never been discussed before, really never been even considered, but as we started looking at the speeds around a racetrack with IndyCar coming up, I guess I should explain what a short track is. A short track in racing is a track anything under a mile in length. So we're a 7/8 mile oval. So we're getting up there close to a full mile. We have banking in our turns anywhere between 10 and 12 degrees, which allow race cars to go really fast and turn at the same time. So with IndyCar visiting us, we're the shortest track that they visit all season long. They average speeds at 185 miles an hour around our racetrack. That's an average speed. So that's while they're turning 185. They're hitting almost 200 miles an hour on our stretch. These drivers are athletes too. This is you know, a coliseum where, you know, your strength, oh, there we go. All right. Your strength, your will are really tested. These drivers are like fighter pilots in the corners. They say it's like doing a U-turn in each one of our turns. So you're doing about 600 times a race, and they're experiencing anywhere between 4.5 and 5 Gs, which is like borderline passing out each time they make that turn. So we are the fastest short track on the planet. That's something we're proud of. That's something we're proud, and hopefully you all are all proud of as being Iowans. To have in your state. We are NASCAR owned and operated. I talked about that. The next slide is our vision. So what NASCAR had in mind for Iowa Speedway, leadership being the first one. So I talked about some of the initiatives that we're bringing in here, trying out. Trent and myself have ideas as well that we want to try out, that we have tried out, that we've gotten feedback on from our fans, that we've gotten feedback on from our partners. And then taking those ideas, documenting them, doing case studies, and sending them back to NASCAR, to IndyCar, to other racetracks. We want to be the leader in innovation, in progress across our sport, whether that be in business solutions, in entertainment value, you know, any number of things that really drive our business. We want to be at the forefront of. We want, you know, to be really the racetrack on a hill. We want to be a world-class property. We consider ourselves to be one already. We're less than 10 years old. We have a beautiful facility there in Newton. It's you know, the fastest short track on the planet, which, you know, really plants our flag in the ground across the world. We have race car drivers like IndyCar drivers that come from around the world. We have, you know, drivers from Western Europe. We have drivers from South America that come in that have huge fan bases. You know, outside of the United States. So we're really proud of having fan bases outside of the United States that watch Iowa Speedway, that anticipate, that really look forward to watching races here. But we want to take that to the next level. We want to try out sports, other forms of sports. We want to try out other forms of entertainment, whether that be a concert, a music festival, any number of things. We want to be, you know, considered one of the best in the business, whether that be, you know, involved in NASCAR or not. All right, engagement. So I was really original with this slide and went to Webster's Dictionary and defined engagement because I really didn't know what it meant. I had an idea, but exactly what it meant, wanted to look that up. So a couple of different definitions that were in. There we go. All right. In Webster's Dictionary, we're to attract and hold by influence. Influence was a word that stood out to me there. To induce to participate. Participate was another word that stood out to me there. Emotional involvement, emotion. And we'll get into why emotion is so important. I think we all know that in the room. And then commitment, you know, engagement at certain levels is certainly a commitment. What I wanted to focus on are the qualities of engagement and its relationship, I guess you could say, with the concept of friendship. Friendship is really how we're approaching our engagement at Iowa Speedway right now, and I'll get into what that means. So next slide is qualities of friendship. I just wanted to go through these real quick, and we'll breeze through. But a friend is loyal, a friend is attentive, they're kind, they're caring, they're respectful, they're comical, they're entertaining, they're fun to be around, they're someone you trust. That's a quality of friendship. And so at Iowa Speedway, we want to be your friend. We want to be the person, or not the person, the racetrack that you trust, the racetrack that you know is going to put on a good event, the racetrack that you enjoy being at, the racetrack that introduces you to new things, introduces you to new other friends. And so that's what I wanted to point out here. Let's get friendly. So a friend wants to feel, I wanted to point this out too, a friend wants to feel important and appreciated. Our fans want to feel important, want to be appreciated, and we certainly believe they're important. We certainly appreciate them, but we need to demonstrate that. And so that's really where we're going with this on the engagement level. They want to be understood. They want to be comfortable. So the feedback that we're getting back from our fans, we really focused in on, because we want to make sure they're comfortable when they're at the racetrack with us. We want to make sure that they're understood, that they feel like they're being heard, that their experience is personal, but also that the Speedway's doing their part. This isn't a transactional relationship. This is an investment made by each one of our fans, and we owe it to them to do everything we can to make sure their experience is wonderful. And all of that leads to being entertained, having enthusiasm both ways. This leads us to sports. So, and this is random, but I'll show you. I think there's a connection in my head. But qualities of sports I wanted to point out, and this is an awesome image, by the way. No pun intended with the first point, but the image that we're looking at here is really a historic moment at Iowa Speedway, probably an iconic moment at Iowa Speedway, a historic moment definitely in the sport of NASCAR. This happened a few years ago. On the final lap of the race, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who won here 3 times, he's the leading race winner on the Xfinity Level Series side. He's in the number 6. And then in number 60 is Carl Edwards. He's a superstar on the Sprint Cup Series level, if any of you have heard that name. He's been in a lot of Subway commercials, things like that. So we had the benefit of him coming out here and racing, and they were racing for the lead. Coming out of turn 4, so the last turn, they're going hard, and we're dropping the checkered flag, so it's a race to the start-finish line. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. pushed it so hard in the last few laps, his engine blew up. So something in the engine blew up. Smoke, came out of the engine, and Carl was right behind him. So if you look at the in-car camera, Carl went completely blind. So because of the smoke, Carl couldn't see. It was like driving through dense fog. Carl couldn't see and went right into the back of Ricky and pushed Ricky, because Ricky was slowing down right across the start-finish line. So Carl actually gave Ricky his win, and then the cars were damaged. They actually left him out on the front stretch, and they had to walk to victory lane. It was a whole thing. So that was really, really cool. But that's, I guess, sort of an explanation of why sports are so awesome, right? They're unpredictable. They're real. They're not scripted. Miracles can happen. I wouldn't call that a miracle, but it was definitely strange and unexpected. There are rivalries, but a huge part of it is the unity that comes from, oh gosh, you're gonna lose me. You're gonna lose me if I don't have my home. Is the unity that comes out. You've got, sports give you a reason to get together with your friends. Sports also give you a reason to be friends with someone else, right? We've all been in a bar, we've all been in a stadium where we're together with some friends, maybe no friends, and the minute our team scores or does something crazy, we're hand in hand, or we're hugging each other. We're there's unbridled enthusiasm, and sometimes sports and moments in sports are the only time that you can express those emotions, and that's what's so fantastic, and that's what leads to the last point about emotion being so critical to what we do and the connection here. So sports and friendship, I think I just covered all of these, but common love and loyalty. There's a loyalty to something other than each other that you both have a common love for. There's unbridled emotion. So sports sort of give you moments with your friends that you may never do in any other circumstance. It's like hugging your buddies, or just screaming or crying even in certain cases. I think we were talking about a Pats fan earlier that cried after that interception on on Sunday, and I totally understand that. I've been there before, but new and more friends. So I pretty much covered these all already. But sports and friendship really go together, and we have the benefit of working at a racetrack where we're focusing on friendship and we have sports to offer. So we get to why engagement. So the first point is discretion. So discretionary income, we're competing with all sorts of leisure activities or entertainment options, anything that someone may choose to spend their discretionary income on, we're competing for. The next point is proliferation of technology and social media. So now that technology is everywhere, we were just a second ago following the presentation on our phones. And social media is, so ubiquitous. It's really provided a platform for a deeper fan engagement. So before it might have been, in-person interaction or direct mail pieces that were, happened intermittently, weren't all the time or on demand. And now we have the opportunity as a brand, as Iowa Speedway, as a property, to sort of personify ourselves. So that really changes the game. It really allows us to dive in deeper with fan engagement, generating meaningful dialogue. So again, speaking back to the feedback that we're looking for to create a better experience, meaningful dialogue really gets us there. If we're open to receiving that feedback, if we're providing responses back to help our fans understand where we're coming from or where our thought process is, it leads to better relationships, again, more meaningful dialogue, better feedback, and then that emotional connection. So when you have meaningful dialogue like that, when your fans feel like, when your customers feel like you care about them, that you're listening, that you're going to respond back to them when they provide feedback, there's where you really get to that friendship level. Again, it's hard to be friends with the racetrack, but the racetrack personified is what we're going for here. So what is successful engagement with that said? So friendship, when you reach that level of friendship, what happens? It's easier to get in touch with your fans. So if you send an email, if you send a direct mail piece, any form of marketing, any form of engagement, whether that be on social or any space, they're more likely to listen in, right? They're less likely to ignore that because you're friends. They have a bond there. They trust you. They're loyal to you. You're going to spend more time together. So if we're more engaging with fans that only come out and see us for one race, 2 races a year out of the 10 that we'll have this year, if we're more engaging, they're more likely to come out for an additional weekend, for additional race, maybe even buy season tickets. It leads to more friendships. So the more time they spend with us, the better time that they're having, the more engaged that they feel, the more ownership they take on, and the more likely they are to develop relationships with each other. And so part of this is not just building friendships between us and our fans, but creating opportunities for them to build better relationships with other fans, creating this network, this atmosphere, this culture that everyone enjoys going to and repeating year after year. So this gets us to objectives. Who am I looking for in time? Am I doing all right on time? Okay. Holy cow. All right. Objectives. So assimilation, ingratiation, innovation are the first 3. So we're young. We're established in 2006. NASCAR just came out here, new direction, new ways of thought at the Speedway. So we want to make sure that the Speedway, before we really start innovating, that we fit within the culture, that we're embedded in the culture, that people think of us as a premier sports and entertainment facility, one to look out for if you're looking, one to put on your schedule every single year. Ingratiation, we want to make sure that everyone enjoys spending time with us, that they like our brand, they like our message, they like what we have to offer. Innovations where we take it to the next level, focusing on fan engagement, but what can we do to go further? What ideas does NASCAR have? What ideas do we have internally to take that engagement to the next level, whether that be, like we talked about earlier, driver introductions, and then some of the examples I'll show in a second. All of this leads to establishing advocacy. So establishing advocates across the market that are recruiting their friends to come with them, because that improves the experience. And then ultimately, that leads to growth. Gosh. So the first step in that, gosh, I'm going to have to go fast. So the first step in that is the rebrand. So I mentioned some of these other, but commitment to value. These are major investments that are made by our fans from their discretionary income. So we want to make sure that they feel they're getting the most value out of that investment each and every weekend. So that's been a really big focus of ours since last year, and that really leads to a platform that I'll get into in a second. Innovation I've already talked about. Consistency, whether it be our brand message in market, our branding and signs at the racetrack itself. We want to make sure when you go to the racetrack, you feel at home, you feel like what you invested in is exactly, what you're getting is exactly what you thought you were investing in. And then it's more personal. So you can do it your way, but there's a connection there with Iowa Speedway itself, that you have this bond with it, that you can provide feedback to help you better personalize your experience. And we're doing exactly that. Personality is a really big part of that. I mentioned a little bit of this already, but social media providing that platform to personify our brand. We want to make sure that everyone knows that we're sports fans, just like any of our fans. We want to make sure that they understand that we're Iowans as well. We're sports fans. We're innovative, but we're fun. Like, we like to have fun, and this is a good photo. This is from last year. I think we had huge snowfall the week before, and then it got up to 60 degrees on like a Monday. So we did a video. I don't know, it was okay, but we did an Instagram video and had everyone dressed as if it was like it was like Hawaiian shirt day at the office, and did a little dance, and then took this photo. But that's our staff right there. That's not all 17, because we needed someone to take the photo, but we had a lot of fun at lunch that day, and that's what we are. We're professionals first, but we like to have a lot of fun going to all sorts of events, and we like to have fun when we're working our events as well. That's why we work in sports. That's why we love working in sports. This leads to fans with benefits. So going back to innovation, going back to commitment to value, we developed a fans with benefits platform package. This is really driven to primarily reward our season ticket holders that have been so loyal to us since 2006. We have a really strong base of season ticket holders up at the Speedway that are just wonderful, wonderful people, and they've stuck with us and really led to NASCAR purchasing Iowa Speedway, considering it such a worthwhile investment. So we want to provide back to them unparalleled perks, best-in-class customer service. I've pretty much covered that already, demonstrating our appreciation, demonstrating our loyalty back to them. So you've been so loyal to us for all these years. We're looking to provide you more value. We're looking to recommit ourselves to you. And so that really leads us into our campaign for season ticket renewals from this past season, which we had a lot of fun with. We basically looked at last summer as the first summer of NASCAR ownership. So it was sort of like that song from the Grease movie, The Summer Lovin'. And we were looking to follow up after the summer with a package that was meant to really take commitment to the next level. So we had a lot of fun. We had a summer fling with our fans, and now we want to take it to the next level. So we created a tangible, a collectible item. We actually have authentic lug nuts, which are the 5 pieces that connect a race tire to a car that you see popping off all the time on pit stops. We ordered many of those, put them in a ring box, a branded ring box, and then that came with a marketing piece that asked our fans to say yes. So we had a lot of fun with that. We had drivers that we worked with on the NASCAR and the IndyCar side that would propose with the ring box on Vine videos, on Instagram videos, on photos. The drivers loved doing it because it was something that was irregular. It was unique to anything they had seen before. And then we had fun with some of the lines. So a diamond is grand, but a 7/8 mile oval is a girl's best friend. We had a number of pieces that we threw out socially and through direct mail pieces, but a lot of fun. Our fans got something out of it too. It wasn't your standard direct mail piece. It was a keepsake, and something we'll build upon each season moving forward. So what are the benefits? We really launched this last year, and you can see as this kid has this sort of a credential item. It's almost like the Willy Wonka golden ticket that we created. So we randomly upgrade our season ticket holders with a number of different things. In this case, it was I think his father had won a pace car ride for the two of them. We had Rusty Wallace, who's a NASCAR Hall of Famer, come out and actually give the pace car rides. We took fans from any different number of seats, brought them up to a suite. We have a fan suite that we upgrade 30 fans a race for. We do all access in the garage, which is behind the scenes. It's basically like being in the locker room of any other sporting event. It's exclusive. You can't buy it. You can't get it unless you're a race team sponsor or you know someone high up at the racing level. And we were able to acquire some of these assets by working with NASCAR, working with IndyCar, and provide them back to our fans as thank you. So they weren't expecting it at first. We just surprised them with it, and the feedback we got was that this was a program that they wanted to continue. So had a lot of fun with that. We're building on that now, and really a staple, or the large part of our program. Another piece within the Fans with Benefits program is our Let's Party. Again, going back to what we like to do, we like to have fun. The photo below is a post-race party, and I showed one earlier too, is a post-race party we threw at the end of the season. Again, we did it, I think we decided 2 weeks out that we were going to put this party together. It was something we had been talking about for years at NASCAR. And we finally got the okay from NASCAR to basically let fans come down on the racetrack as soon as the race ended. All right. And we actually had about 5,000 fans stay over, come down on the racetrack. We had a DJ, we had a stage. We gave away a bunch of different merchandise, but we had drivers that stuck around. This is Brad Keselowski, the Sprint Cup Series champion. He's a huge name in our sport. He had won the race. He had a race in the Poconos the next day. He had probably a 2.5-hour flight back the next morning, and this is probably 11, 12 at night, and stayed out because he loved the energy. He loved what he saw going on. This was something he had never seen before. It was something our fans loved. We threw a party that our drivers stuck around for. It's kind of like throwing a party at your house and having a celebrity from a movie or a singer or a musician showing up, and your friends get a chance to meet that celebrity, that person. So that was a lot of fun. We have holiday parties at the end of the season. We have a season ticket holder party at the beginning of the season. We have a Daytona 500 viewing party in about 2 weeks. So we engage our fans, whether in season or out of season. We try to stay at their top of mind around the 12-month calendar. Snow shovel. This is something we tried out a couple of weeks ago. It's been something we're playing with. I could probably end with this. We got, I think, 6 or 7 inches of snow on, what was it, January 5th. I was sitting in my office, and we thought it might be fun to try this out. We thought it was a good opportunity to show our appreciation away from the racetrack. It was right at the same time as our season ticket renewals were finishing up. And so we sent a tweet out with about 30 minutes before the end of the day and said, I will personally come to your home tonight, clear your driveway for the first person to call, mention this tweet, and buy 4 new season tickets. We got about, I can't remember how many calls, but I followed up with them around 5 o'clock while it was, just snowing cats and dogs, I guess you could say. And I finally got in touch with a family that was willing to let me come to their house and shovel their driveway. It took about 6 families that I had to call. The first 5 told me I was stupid. I was out of my mind. And I'm not kidding either. This one actually continued to say I was out of my mind. I said, I'm sorry, I committed to this. I have to do it. Will you please just let me come to your house and shovel your driveway? So this was really, really fun to do. Gave us huge earned media. We got Fox Sports to pick it up. NBC Sports picked it up. NASCAR.com covered it. Local media here in Des Moines covered it. A ton of earned media out of nothing, really, a couple gallons of gas maybe that it took me to get to Linville that night. Got a chance to spend time with this family. That was awesome. So again, speaking back to feedback, engaging with our fans, it was more than just going to their driveway, showing up, shoveling, and going, hey, can you take a photo so I can prove to everyone I did this? It was, I went into their house. They offered me dinner. I had eaten earlier, so I passed on the opportunity, but we talked for probably 30 to 45 minutes before any shoveling began. I got to know the Fraker family, and they're wonderful people, and actually took some feedback back from them that we delivered to our staff the next day for implementation this season. So sorry, I'm gonna cut it short. I guess the rest of the presentation's up, so thank you all for your ears. Thanks for your time, and I don't know. Have fun the rest of the day.
Before Jimmy leaves, anybody have any questions? Just kind of a quick question or two. Anybody? Bueller? Where at? Over here? Okay, what's your question?
Who's your favorite NASCAR driver?
We're not supposed to have them. But Brad Keselowski, I was pointing him out, he was throwing a hat to the fans. He and I are from the same hometown, so suburbs of Detroit. And I'll say this. We were in Vegas a couple years when he won the championship, and we got teamed up on a beer pong team in Las Vegas at a hotel. And we lost, but we had a lot of fun together, so I consider him a teammate and a friend. And you know, being from the same hometown, going to rival high schools, I guess he's probably the guy I pull for if I pulled for anyone.
Very cool, very cool. Hey, I've got something here for you from Chocolate Storybook, because we are deeply committed to not just eating, but eating chocolate. A little bit of a gift, and say thank you, Jimmy, for being with us today. Great to meet you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you here too.